In this video, I will show you how to set up the Airtable database to create unlimited ads creative. So first of all, you need to understand that there are dependencies between each different tables. So this is the database, and here, as you will see, we have product, we have ICP, we have content angles, we have text sets, we have prompts, we have media assets, and we have master prompts. And then we have a utility table, which is not used for production, it's just to keep records. So the first table that you will need to create is product. To do that, you will have this button, and then you just start from scratch. Here, you will continue and you will create the ICP table, and then you will create the content angle table, then the text asset table, then the prompts table, then the media assets table, and then the master prompts table. And you will create all of those tables without doing anything in them yet. So next, you will need to work in each of those tables. So the first one is going to be the product table. And here, as you will see, the product table is linked to the ICP table, which is also linked to the angles table. So there is something that you really need to pay attention to. Here, when you see this icon with the little arrow, this is a link to another record. When you see this icon with a magnifier, this is a lookup field which is linked to the linked record. So let me just show you how that works so that you can really understand. So here, as you will see, we have this arrow. So if I edit the field that this is linked to the ICP table, let me just create one so that you can understand properly. Link to another record. So I would use the product, I would use the ICP table. And here I'm going to name it whatever, just for the sake of the example and for you to understand. Then I will create this field. So this is going to basically build a link between the different tables. And then I'm going to add a lookup field. So this lookup field is going to be attached to this linked field. And this is just going to be replicating exactly what's in the other table. So here, if I select those three, here as you see, so this ICP table, AI agency owner, and as you can see, this is automatically populated, and this is coming from this table here. So now I can delete all of those fields. They won't be needed anymore. So I'll delete this field, delete. Okay. And here I'll delete all of those lookup fields. And as you will see in the ICP table, this hasn't been affected because I've just deleted the linked record and the lookup field. So that's how you create dependencies between one table to another. Now we've created all of our tables, so we'll work within each of those tables in order to create the different fields. So the first one is going to be product. So that's going to be a single text field. The next one is going to be product description. So this is going to be a long text field. The next one is going to be ICP. So this is linked to ICP and will allow multiple records. As you can see here, we have the little arrow inside the icon and not the magnifying glass. So this is a linked record. So we could add different lookup fields based on this linked record. The next one is angles, which is exactly the same. So this is linked to content angles table. And here we also allow linking to multiple records. And here we have a checkbox. So this is to create ICPs. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the next one is going to be the ICP table. And so the ICP table has the first field is the ICP name, which is a single line text. The next one is market research. So this is a long text. So here, as you can see, this is very long text even. So this is also what we are getting inside our Google Doc. The next one is a look field. So this is linked to content angles. The next one is a link to product. So link to product. And here we are not allowing linking multiple records per product. Here we have the product description, which is a lookup field based on the product table. So here we just select the source, which is product. And here the lookup is product description. Here we have a link. So this is a link to the Google Doc, which are being created each time we produce a new ICP. And here we have the media asset, and then we have product name. They can be deleted. Next, we are going to create the content angles table. So the first one is going to be the single line text. So this is the angle name. The next one is going to be the angle framework. So this is a little bit different. This is a single select. So that's PAS, AIDA, before and after, testimonial, how to, and story. The next one is going to be the hook type. So this is also a single select. So question, statement, statistics, story, better than, without controversy or challenge. And then we are going to link this to the ICP table. So this is just a link to the ICP table, and we allow multiple ICPs for a given angle. In regards to the product, we are also linking to the products table, and we can do that. So we have a single product per angle. That makes more sense. Here we have the lookup field. So this is exactly the same. This is linked to the product table, and we use the product description. Here we have the add angle, which is just a long text. Here we have the master prompt, which is a link to the master prompts table, and we can allow linking multiple records. This one is a lookup field based on the master prompts table, and this is linked to prompt. This one is the style, which is linked to the master prompts table, and lookup field is the style. And we do exactly the same for types. And we do the same for video asset. So for video asset, this is a link to video assets table. And here, this is a link to media assets table. And we also have a checkbox, which is to create prompts. So this is just a trigger. So this is very simple. Edit field, checkbox, and make sure that default is set to empty. Next, we are going to cover the prompts table. So for the prompts table, we have the asset name, which is a single line of text. The prompt is a long text field. The next one is the status, which is a single select. So to do, in progress, or done. This is a link to the products table. So as you can see, here we have the arrow, and here we have the magnifying glass. So this is a link to the product table, and based on the product table, we get the name of the product, and we do the same for the angle. So here we link to the content angle table. Here we link, that's a lookup field based on the content angle table. So this is the angle's name. And then here we have the attachment. Here we have the web URL, which is useful to get the actual content. And here we have the aspect ratio, which is a single select as well. So 16:9 and then 16:1. And here we have a link to the master prompts table. So this is also just a link without lookup fields. And here we have the different lookup fields. So this is the type, and this is also a checkbox to create new asset. So next we have the media assets table. So this one is really important. This is where we get the outcome. So as you will see, this is a very simple one. So here we have the name. So we use the name, which is then being pushed by NAN. So this is a single line of text. The generation ID, this is also pushed by the NAN workflow. So this is a single line of text. The status is set to processing or done. Here we have different kinds of attachment. So if there are images, you will see those images. If this is a video, you will just see a video icon, but then you can play it in the browser. So this is just named attachment, and this is our attachment. Here, this is a link to the product table. Here, this is a link to the angles table. And here, this is a lookup field from the angles table using the ICP. And here we are just linking the prompt, which is also a link to the master prompts table. So this is the media assets table. Now we are going to see the master prompts table. So here we have the name, which is the name of our prompt, which is a single line of text. Here we have the different prompts, which are long text. And then we have the different styles, which are just single select. So interview, breaking news, influencer style, documentary style, training education, or behind the scenes. Here we have the type of prompt. So is it for videos or images? And then here we have a link to the content angles table. Here we have a link to the prompts table. And here we have a link to the media assets table. In regards to the utility table, this is just for records, so don't worry about that. You don't even need it to make sure that the system works. Next, we are going to see automations. So automations are very simple. They are basically running when a checkbox is checked. So we have 4 different kinds of automation, 4 different automations of the same kind. Story. So this is to create ICPs, create prompts, create marketing angles, and create assets. As you will see, they are all the same. It's just that the webhook URL changes. So to get this webhook URL, you need to make sure that you have an workflow. The first step within that workflow is going to be a webhook, which you will need to change. Once this webhook is changed, you need to make sure that you click on the production URL, not the test URL. Click on it, and then here, make sure that you replace this webhook URL. So the way the script works is that it just passes the record ID, and then inside the actual workflows, we use a get record node using this record ID in order to get the detail of this record. So that's all we are doing here. We are just making sure that we are passing the right record ID inside this webhook URL. So when you create this script, this is going to be empty. So let me just delete it so that you can see. Here we have the record ID and the webhook URL underlined, which means that they are undeclared. So what you need to do here is add 2 variables and then just copy this and paste it here, and then copy that and paste it there. Here you need to make sure that you click on this plus button and add the record ID. And here there is a typo. Here you will use the webhook URL, which you just copied, and then save. Obviously not going to save that one because I've changed the webhook URL. So this wouldn't be running correctly. And then here as the next step, you just need to make sure that you actually update the record to uncheck the checkbox. So that's basically it to set up this Airtable database. It's not very complicated. The most complicated part is to understand the different dependencies between one table and the other. That's fairly straightforward once you understood how they connect to each other. So I'll see you in the next video.